Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Good morning,
Morning,
sir.
sir.
Okay, it's nice to see you all this morning, and I hope that all of you are happy, and the most important of all is that you are healthy, right? Because health is very important in our life. You have a lot of money, but you are not healthy, then your money is not useful. Okay, it's not useful. Okay. Um, okay. Last week I talked about how to develop a topic. What are the criteria for the topic? And today we are going to continue our discussion by talking about what you are going to write for your seminar. And since this seminar is called proposal seminar, then what you are going to write is a research proposal. It's not the same as the paper you wrote the last semester in seminar on literature, in which you wrote a complete research result. I mean, the report. You're supposed to be research. I'm not sure about that now. But, in a seminar of a research seminar, it's different from a research proposal seminar. The paper is different. So the difference is here. In a research proposal seminar, your paper consists of 3 sections, not chapters, but sections. Okay, sections: introduction, literature review, and research methodology. Of course, you must also put in your paper your title and abstract, and also references. But the main body of your paper, your proposal, consists of introduction, literature review, and research methodology. Okay, remember last semester I also taught quantitative research, and the sentence was to write a research proposal. But some of students collected a full, sorry, some students collected full research reports. The sentence was to write a research proposal. But the submission, what you collected last semester, some of you, not all of you, were research reports, complete research reports. I don't know where you got those reports, but of course, for me, it matters much is your scores you create. The students who collected research reports instead of research proposals then got maximum B or B plus. It was not possible for the students to get A. Why? Because you did not collect the assignment as it was told. It was assigned to you. So as a reminder for you this semester, then keep this in mind. What you are going to write, what you are going to present, what you are going to collect, then was a research proposal. Okay, research proposal. I'd like to put an underline here, a research proposal, not a research report. Okay, a research proposal. Should change the color to make it more. Okay, that's a must. In a research proposal, there will be no results. Okay, there has been no results yet. Remember that. There has been no results yet. Why? Because it is a proposal, it is planned. Results of a research would be included after you finish your research. After finishing your research, after collecting data, after analyzing your data, then that's the time you report research and you include the research results, the findings, analysis, and also conclusions. Okay, so keep this in mind. What you are going to write is a paper. What kind of paper? It's a research proposal. Okay, your paper is a research proposal. And what does a research proposal contain? It contains introduction, literature review, and research methodology. That's it. Okay, that's all. It's not necessary for you to add, for example, chapter 1, 2, 3, and then chapter 4 results and discussions, and chapter 5 conclusion. It is not necessary yet now because you have done your research here. You haven't done your research yet. That's why results is not here anymore. Okay, so your paper, once again, consists of title, abstract, introduction, literature review, and research methodology, and also references. Okay, so this is very important because, some students, especially who did not attend class like this morning, then would just ask his or her friends, what kind of paper are we going to write? Okay, we are going to write a research proposal paper. And what should be there? What elements should be right? Okay, your friends would answer you, just a paper. You can search example in the internet. Okay, in the internet there are a lot of examples, reports, and also proposals. But since your friends who did not come attend the class now did not really understand what's the difference between proposal and report, research proposal and research report, then after getting some interesting topics in the internet, and they tried to download the papers, and that's it. Only changing minor parts of the paper and submit it to me, and that's a very, very big mistake, a very fatal mistake. Why fatal? Why big? Because it has something to do with your final grade. If you expect by submitting a kind of paper, then you expect to get A. But after reading your submission, I would say, oh, it's not a proposal, it's a report. Okay, and a report should be graded at maximum 60. Okay, 60. Okay, if you with 60 for your score of your report, you are not right. You are not happy, and that's why you must be careful. Okay, you must be careful in in writing your paper and writing your proposals. And the other important factor of why it is important to you is because you are going to proceed to continue your proposal with an actual research for your final task. Okay, your final assignment, tugas akhir, skripsi. So this proposal is supposed to be your initial chapters, three beginning chapters of your script for your final task, final assignment. So it's the reason why you must be serious in writing this. Okay, that's the introduction for this lecture, and let's talk about title. We have already talked about this before. Now let's go to abstract. Abstract is summary, summary of your proposal. Abstract is summary of your proposal. So ideally, logically, you write the abstract after you finish your proposal. Do not write the abstract before writing the proposal. After finishing your proposal, then write the abstract, because the abstract will be the summary of your proposal. It's the short version of your proposal. What should you write in your abstract? What should be written there in your abstract? The abstract should contain at least three aspects, three elements. The first element is the purpose of your research. Purpose or purposes of your research. In our department, for your final task, there should be at least two problems. Two problems mean two purposes, two objectives. So in your abstract, then the first parts, the first sentences should tell the readers about the purposes of your research. Okay, for example, your title is moral values in movie. Moral values in a movie. Or if you are specific, then religious moral values in some movie. Okay. And your abstract, the first sentences of your abstract should say the objectives of this research are to identify the moral values, the religious moral values found in the movies. And the second objective is to describe the moral values in detail. Okay, there are two questions, two problems that you are going to answer in your research. First, to find out the moral values, the religious moral values in the story, in the movie. And second, to describe all the moral values you found in the movie. That's the first sentences of your abstract, the objectives. Okay. The second part of your abstract should talk about the theory. Okay. The theory, the references that you use, the comparisons of previous researches that you read, and all these things should give readers kind of illustration on how important your research is. So it's kind of argument to say that it is important to do this research, because theoretically speaking, okay, this is like this and like that. And that will be discussed further in section 1, introduction. I'm going to talk about this later in this section. And the third part of your abstract should talk about the methodology of research you try to apply in your research. Okay, the research methodology, the approach of research, and then the data collection technique that you apply, the data analysis technique that you use, okay, and how the results of your study would be presented. That's it. That's all. Okay. The abstract should contain 3 elements. First, the objectives, okay, the purposes of your research. Second, the theories or references that you use. And third, the research methodology. Okay, that's it. That's abstract. How long should an abstract be? An abstract of a research proposal should be at maximum 150 words. 150 words. No more than that. 150. What is the minimum number of words in an abstract? Yeah, at least 140. Okay, 140. So between 140 and 150. That's the length of an abstract of a research proposal. And the abstract should be written in one single paragraph. Okay, in one single paragraph. It's not necessary to write the abstract in 3 paragraphs. No, that's not the way how MLA regulates the writing of a research proposal, because we follow MLA academic writing style or guide. Okay, so that's it, the abstract. And let's go to section A, introduction. Introduction is very, very important. Yeah, as all the content of this is what I got from. Yeah, it's too small, I think. Okay, there is a statement E. It's MLA style, right? Start with a strong introduction. Start with a strong introduction. So your introduction should be strong. What is meant by strong here? Well, okay, you should tell your readers or your consultants that this topic is important. This topic is different from other topics. This topic is useful. That's what is meant by strong, right? So your introduction should be strong. That's why you must develop arguments telling the readers that this topic is very important, it's very useful, is very necessary. How would you say that? In your background of the paper, then try to write your study framework, the general outlines of your research. And in the section, you may have a few subsections. For example, background of the study. Of course, the subsection should be written in different paragraphs. It is not necessary to add numbers. For example, number 1, the background of study. It's not necessary. Just introduction. The first 2 paragraphs tell your readers about the background. In the background of the study, you try to convince your readers, your consultants, that this research is very important, it's different, it's useful. Okay? How would is it possible? How would it be possible to say that it is important, it's useful, and it's different? The way how to say this is by showing, by writing in the introduction at least two aspects. First, we try to observe previous researches on the same topic, and after you read number of researches on the same topic, then right there from the previous researches, I would say that this topic is different and it, it has never been done before, as long as I know. And you give examples of the previous researches. For example, a research done by name, so year. Yeah, the topic is in the same domain, but we use different approaches. Okay, that's how to express that your topic, your study is different, and it is important. Why? Because what I'm going to find out is very, very useful for me as a language teacher in the future language teacher, and also for other colleagues, my friends in this department, also in similar departments outside there. Okay, and as far as I observe, then this kind of topic is an important topic to be discussed among English department students to improve their, for example, pedagogical knowledge, pedagogical skills. So try to develop arguments in your background that convince your audience, your readers, that your topic is important, your topic is useful, your topic is different. Okay, so that's why it's also important that I remind you not to take another student's title, copy it and paste it as your topic. That's not the good way. That's not the correct way of beginning the research. Try to develop your own topic. Try to get your own topic. And in your introduction, that will be very evident. That will be very clear from your argument. If you really get the topic by yourself originally, or you get the idea from someone else's, from someone else's ideas. So again, try to be original. Try to be authentic. Do not just copy. Yeah, do not just copy. Why? Because in real life situations, if you just copy someone else's topic and you try to use it as your topic, then it will be very difficult for you to develop. Okay, it would be very difficult for you to develop. And later in your consultation, it will take longer time, because in my experience, students who did not develop their topics by themselves took longer time. Why? Because they did not really understand what they wrote. They did not really understand what they did in their researches. Okay, and from the introduction, it would be very, very evident whether it is your original topic or it is copied from other students' paper. Okay, in your introduction, it's also necessary for you to establish a problem statement. Okay, establish your problem. For example, you have two problems and state the problem set. The research is focused on two problems. The problems are the moral values found in the story and the description of the moral values in the story. Determine the main purposes of your research. So the main purposes of your research are the um, temporary answers to your problems. So, for example, if the problems are first, um, what are the moral values, religious moral values in the story? Then the temporary purposes is to find out religious moral values in the story. And if your second problem is what are the descriptions of the moral values, religious moral values in the story, then the second purpose is to describe the religious moral values in the story. Okay, that's the introduction. And now let's go to literature review. Literature here is not the same as literature as the name of a collection of literary works. Literature here means the references, okay? References that you are going to use, references that you have already read and you understood that they are very important in developing your introduction, in developing your literature review, in developing your instruments for data collection. Okay. Literature review can be very lengthy. It depends on the reading materials that you already collected. The more references, the lengthy will be your literature review. And the main function of a literature review is to give your readers a kind of figure that your study is not personal opinion. It is an objective and credible kind of writing, a scientific kind of writing. And the most important criteria of scientific to be scientific is objective. Okay, so objectivity is the most important element of a scientific work or attitude. If you want to be called scientific, then the first thing you must show to others is that you are objective. You are honest. If you are not honest, you are not objective. If you are not objective, you are not scientific. Okay. So, literature review would give your readers previous researches in the same domain that you used to develop your arguments. That okay, this research is important because even though there have been different researches before, but the researches were different from mine. Okay, and you mention the differences between your research and other researches. Okay, so literature review would also be useful in preparing your data collection technique and your data analysis. So what you write in your literature review would be used later to develop a kind of flowchart, a kind of chart showing the flow from general theories to specific theories, And in the specific theories, there are aspects or objects that you are going to look for in the story. For example, you are going to write about religious moral values. Then in your literature review, there should be a portion of the discussion containing theories about religious moral values. You may refer to some writers, some researchers who are expert in religious moral values, and you quote their opinions, their research results in your literature review. By using all those resources, then you would be able to develop your research methodology. How you would collect your data, what kind of data you are going to collect. For example, by writing literature review, then you would understand that the religious moral values consist of 5 values. Okay, for example, the religious moral values, according to some renowned author, consists of 5 values. They are, for example, honesty, and then objectivity, and then humbleness, and then economicality, and then togetherness. There are 5 religious moral values according to this writer or this author. By describing the religious moral values in section 2 in your literature review, then you'd be able to develop a methodology how to collect your data. That is, your data would be collected on the basis of those 5 values. So try to get those 5 values in the story. Okay? Try to get to find the value of responsibility. Try to find the value of honesty, and so on and so forth. So there is a connection between section B and section C, literature review and research methodology. And this is, I think, in my experience of consulting students, this is the most difficult part of the research report that your friends encounter before. They have difficulties in understanding that literature review is used to develop methodology. Okay, of course, the details of such kind of relationship or connection would be given by your consultants later, not now, because okay, this morning we have 40 students attending this class, and there might be 40 different topics. There might be 40 different literature reviews, and different literature reviews would result in different research methodologies. Okay, if you have a question, then raise your hand. Okay, don't hesitate to push the hand button there. And I'm going to give you time to ask.
I have a
Okay,
question, sir.
okay, Ronnie.
There is some of my friends still confused about characterization and character. Can you explain that?
Okay, that should be written in your literature review. Okay, Ronnie, that should be written there in your literature review. And this is one of the importance of writing literature review, is to learn, to comprehend, to understand. For example, the difference between character and characterization. Of course, you must read books. Okay, if you have difficulty, you have problems understanding terms like character and characterization, then you read books. For example, okay, let me show you a very useful book here for you to use in your uh, research literature. I'm going to show you this. Abrams. Okay, let me show you the book. Okay, this is the book. Okay. Can you see it? The glossary of literary terms. Abrams. The glossary of literary terms. Can you see it on the screen? Ronnie? And this book can be
Yes, sir.
downloaded,
Sudah kelihatan.
from the internet free of charge. Okay, but the 10th edition, I don't know. You should pay some um, maybe some 50,000 to 60,000. The 10th edition. Yes, of course there are differences, but it can be used. Okay. Still, you can use this book. Okay, for example, we try to find what is the meaning of the word characters, because it's uh, it's it's like a dictionary, because all terms of literature is here. It's written here. So just go to C, C, C. Okay, character and characterization. Okay, on page 32, there is the comparison between character and characterization. Okay, I'm going to screen grab this. Make the writing bigger. And I'm going to put in PowerPoint slides. Okay. Okay, let's see the results here. Yeah. The Definition of character, according to Abrams, on page 32, is the name of a literary genre. It is short and actually with a sketch in prose a distinctive type of person. The genre was inaugurated by Theophratus, a Greek author of the 2nd century BC, who wrote a lively book entitled Characters. The form that had the great book in the early 17th century, the books of characters then written by Joseph Paul, Sir Thomas Overbury, and John Shaw, influenced the later writers on essays, history, and fiction. Okay, that's character. So character is a distinctive type of person. Character is a distinctive type of person. The second definition is characters are the persons represented in a dramatic or narrative role who are interpreted by the reader as being endowed with particular moral, intellectual, and emotional qualities by inferences from what a person say and their distinctive ways of saying it in the form of dialogue and from what they do, the action. So it's clearer here that characters are persons, and persons can be human beings, can be animals, can be trees, can be fish. Okay, that's character. Now let's go to characterization. And there is classification of character, round character, and then you have flat character. And then the difference between character and characterizations is that characterization is the way of characterizing. It is written here in the book that characterization is the techniques an author used in describing, in portraying what kind of characteristics that character has. That's characterization. So characterization is a technique, okay, way, method to present, to portray, to describe what kind of a person is, for example, a character. So character is the person. Characterization is the technique of presenting the character in the story. For example, if Tom, in the story of The Great Gatsby, for example, Tom is proud boy, proud man, right? A very selfish man, selfish boy. The way how Fitzgerald illustrate Tom as a proud and selfish boy is called characterization. Okay. Jay, in the story, the same story, is supposed to be a very, very humble and very good, loyal boy. Tom and Jay are both very rich, but the author, the Scots Fitzgerald, describes the two characters differently. Tom is described as a proud and selfish boy, while Jay is described as a rich, humble, and loyal boy. That's characterization. Okay, Ronnie. So character is the person. Once again, character is the person. So it's different from psychological term, because in psychology, character is characteristics. Okay, so In literature, we differentiate between character, characteristics, characterization. Okay. They're all different. In psychology, if you talk about character, you talk about characteristics, attitude. Okay, but don't be confused, because literature and psychology have their own dictionaries, right? They have different dictionaries. So, in order for you and your friends to be clear in understanding terms like this, then open the dictionary or glossary. Okay, that's the best way for you to clarify things, Ronnie. Okay, is that clear to you now? And also the other students. Character and characterization. Character is the person. In bahasa Indonesia, tokoh, right? Character is tokoh. While characterizations is penokohan. How an author describes or creates that person to be good or bad guys. Ya. Jadi karakterisasi itu lebih ke teknik, ya. Cara-cara yang dipakai oleh pengarang, penulis, novelis, atau kalau film sutradara, ya, dalam memberi watak, perwatakannya kayak apa. Misalnya, saya barusan cerita tentang perbedaan antara Tom dan J dalam novel The Great Gatsby. Sekarang kalau film bagaimana? Karena ada juga filmnya kan, The Great Gatsby tahun 2012 kayaknya, terbaru. Itu antara Tom dan J itu diberi cara berpakaian, cara berbicara, itu beda. Kenapa? Because they belong to different types of personality. Mereka ini berbeda wataknya, kepribadiannya berbeda. Tom itu angkuh, egois, sementara J itu orangnya setia, dan dia tidak banyak bicara, dia biasa-biasa aja, tidak sombong. Nah, cara penulis mendeskripsikan tokoh atau cara sutradara memberi apa, misalnya memberi gimmick, ya, memberi warna pada tokoh itu, misalnya cara bicara, cara berpakaian, cara berkomunikasi dan lain-lain, itu adalah karakterisasi teknik. Jadi teknik itu cara, characterization is teknik, characterization is cara, not the person. The person is character. But in psychology, character is characteristics. In literature, characteristics are traits, maybe attitudes, behaviors that character has. Jadi karakteristik itu dalam literature itu sifat-sifat, ya, ciri-ciri. Jadi misalnya itu sombong, ramah, baik hati, rajin menabung, rajin menolong. That's all characteristics. Nah, karakteristik itu nempel di tokoh. Jadi jangan do not mix psychology and literature. They're different. Itu aja yang penting, jangan dikacaukan. If you talk about literature and you use character, what you mean by character is person. Kalau dalam literature, ya karakter itu ya tokoh. Jangan dikacaukan dengan psikologi. Psikologi karakter itu sifat. Oke. Sementara dalam literature, sifat itu adalah karakteristik. Oke, is that clear, Ronnie?
Berarti kalau karakteristik itu penokohan, maksudnya kayak sifatnya baik, penyabar, terus seperti itu characterization itu, Pak.
Iya, penokohannya karakterisasi.
Terus kalau
tapi sifatnya karakteristik.
Sifatnya karakteristik. Kalau karakter itu tokohnya di penjelasan tokohnya berdasarkan apa, dari ceritanya, berdasarkan dari film.
Karakter itu tokohnya. Jadi tadi saya contoh ya. Misalnya tokoh dalam cerita The Great Gatsby, you have three main characters, ya kan? Dalam cerita The Great Gatsby itu ada 3 tokoh utama, Daisy, Tom Buchanan, and J. Gatsby. Itu karakter, tokoh. Udah, titik. Ya, itu tokoh. Nah, ada main characters, you have main characters, you also have helping characters or sub characters. Itu kalau bicara karakter begitu, tokoh utama, tokoh pembantu. Kalau nanti ada tokoh dibagi lagi menurut apa namanya jalan ceritanya, ada tokoh yang baik, ada tokoh yang tidak baik. Lalu kita punya protagonist characters, we also have antagonist characters. Itu ya, itu kalau kita bicara karakter. Nah, cara kita membuktikan tokoh itu baik apa enggak, itu kan lalu kita tunjukkan sifat-sifat mereka kan. Tokoh baik itu sifatnya baik, ya kan? Nah, sifat-sifat itu dalam literature itu namanya istilahnya characteristics. Characteristics, sifat-sifat tokoh itu. Misalnya J itu orangnya setia, okay? Dia setia pada seorang perempuan, dia nggak bisa berpaling pada perempuan lain, itu Daisy. Sementara Tom ini nggak setia orang, karena dia setelah punya istri Daisy dia masih berhubungan dengan perempuan lain. Itu sifat, itu karakteristik, oke? Karakteristik. Nah, kalau seorang pengarang ingin memberi perwatakan, ingin memberi seorang tokoh itu baik apa jahat, lalu dia menempelkan sifat-sifat, itu kan teknik ya. Itu yang disebut dengan karakterisasi. Oke lah, sekarang ini saya jadi Fitzgerald ya, penulis novel itu. Ini Tom ini mau saya bikin jadi tokoh yang jahat, berarti dia harus pertama dia orangnya sombong kan jahat. Udah kurang jahat nih kalau hanya sombong, dia egois. Apalagi ya tokoh jatuh selain sombong egois, dia tidak setia. Kemudian apa lagi ya? Pokoknya diberilah sifat-sifat jelek pada tokoh Tom itu. Itu namanya karakterisasi. Karakterisasi itu dilakukan oleh seorang penulis novel atau cerita pendek, atau oleh seorang sutradara ketika dia membuat film. Misalnya seorang sutradara berpikir keras, dia akan nanya ke bagian kostum ini gimana nih pakaian si Tom supaya dia kelihatan jahat. Supaya dia kelihatan jahat ya dia pakailah pakaian yang mahal tapi yang warna-warnanya sangat istilahnya itu warna-warna yang tajam gitu, yang keras, ya. Bukan warna-warna yang teduh gitu. Karena itu akan memperkuat karakteristik sifat dia sebagai orang yang mempunyai sifat tidak baik. Tapi kalau misalnya J pakaiannya ya sederhana aja lah, pakaian yang kebanyakan orang pakai gitu, tidak eksklusif. Gitu. Nah, cara itu disebut karakterisasi. Makanya dalam bahasa Indonesia disebut penokohan. Ini teknik yang dipakai oleh seorang penulis atau seorang sutradara dalam menciptakan seorang tokoh itu menjadi tokoh baik atau tokoh tidak baik, atau tokoh yang abu-abu, baik enggak, jahat juga enggak, atau tokoh yang round character. Round character itu tokoh yang ya kadang-kadang baik, kadang-kadang jahat. Jadi nggak jelas juga. Kadang-kadang baik, kadang-kadang jahat. Lalu kesimpulannya bahwa itu orang nggak jelas itu baik apa jahat. Kadang-kadang baik, kadang-kadang jahat. Udah jelas ya, Rani ya.
Kalau misalnya kita menilai karakternya itu dari dialog itu termasuknya apa, Pak?
Karakter nggak bisa dinilai dari dialog. Karakter itu kan orangnya kan. Yang bisa dinilai dari dialog itu karakterisasi. Jadi kalau karakter itu hanya bisa dinilai dari sifat-sifat dia, dari atribut, dari aksesori gitu ya, cara bicara. Tapi kalau dari dialog itu karakterisasi. Misalnya begini, ini Tom ini tokoh jahat. Dialognya dia selalu menggunakan ungkapan-ungkapan yang kasar, menggerutu, menghardik, ya kan? Itu karakterisasi. Jadi tolong mulai dibedakan ya. Nanti mungkin penjelasan ini belum masuk ya. try to read your dictionary, try to read any sources, termasuk seperti ini glossary ya, itu boleh. Jadi kalau nanti dibandingkan antara misalnya Dictionary of Psychology dan Dictionary of Literature atau Glossary of Literary Terms. Jadi kalau kamus sastra ya ini misalnya Glossary of Literary Terms. Nah, nanti baru bisa membedakan, karena kalau masih campur aduk dalam benak kita itu antara psikologi dan sastra itu memang sulit. Makanya harus meyakini dulu, oh di sastra itu begini, di psikologi begini, oh beda ya. Karena psikologi itu kan ilmu yang yang membahas soal manusia ya sebagai suatu entitas. Dan dalam ilmu yang seperti itu kan nggak perlu ada tokoh, nggak perlu ada apa penokohan, nggak perlu. Yang ada dalam psikologi itu hanya karakteristik. Nah, istilah karakteristik dalam sastra itu di psikologi istilahnya menjadi karakter. Ya, orang ini karakternya keras, orang ini karakternya lemah lembut, ya kan? Jadi ini di benaran ini masih kacau nih antara psikologi dan sastra ya. Karena dalam psikologi, dalam bahasa Indonesia ya, kalau dalam psikologi bahasa Inggris sih sama dengan literatur, sama. Jadi karakter dalam bahasa Inggris itu bisa berarti tokoh, bisa berarti sifat dalam psikologi. Nah sekarang karena because we are talking about literature, then we should use this definition as a starting point. Ya, ini sebagai titik awal untuk membedakan antara karakter, characterization, dan characteristics. They're different. Ini memang masalah yang selalu muncul ya. Tiap ganti-ganti angkatan selalu ini masalahnya dalam memahami literatur itu. Kenapa? Karena dalam benak mahasiswa ini masih terbawa konsep psikologi yang itu berlaku di dalam bahasa Indonesia. Sementara dalam sastra Inggris itu nggak seperti itu. Mungkin dalam sastra Indonesia seperti itu ya, saya nggak tahu. Karena saya tidak. Tapi saya pernah belajar juga sastra Indonesia, memang seperti itu. Di karakter dalam sastra Indonesia itu ya sebenarnya karakteristik dalam sastra Inggris. Karena orang Indonesia ini kalau mengadaptasi istilah kan kadang-kadang suka tidak tepat juga gitu. Ya. Oke, Roni, nanti dibaca lagi ya.
Dewa.
Jadi saya ulang lagi supaya yang lain juga memahami ini. Saya pakai bahasa Indonesia karena ini agak susah dijelaskan dengan bahasa Inggris. Karakter itu tokoh, ya tokoh. Nah kalau kalian mau menulis tentang karakter, nanti larinya ke teori tentang karakter. Teori karakter itu apa? Ya ada main character, ada minor character, ada tokoh utama, tokoh pembantu, atau major character, minor character. Nah teorinya apa? Ya teori apa sih ciri-ciri major character? Apa ciri-cirinya? Apa ciri-ciri minor character? Itu teorinya ya, yang ditulis di literature review. Tapi kalau kalian ingin menulis soal characterization, teorinya adalah teori karakterisasi. Beda dari teori major and minor characters. Karakterisasi itu ada teori yang misalnya menggunakan dua pendekatan, direct and indirect characterization. Beda kan teorinya? Direct characterization itu apa? Ya apa yang langsung bisa dilihat dalam tokoh itu. Apa yang bisa langsung diobservasi dalam tokoh itu. Misalnya, perkataannya, perbuatannya, pakaiannya. Orang baik itu mesti perkataannya beda, ya, perbuatannya beda, berpakaiannya beda dari orang yang jahat. Ya, sebaliknya orang baik, orang jahat, ya pasti beda kalau dia mati. Ya, dari orang jahat, perbuatannya. Ini direct characterization. Lalu ada indirect characterization. Dari mana indirect characterization? Yang nggak langsung bisa disimpulkan dari seorang tokoh. Misalnya apa? Misalnya deskripsi pengarang, kalau novel ya. Atau adegan dalam sebuah film. Dalam adegan film itu misalnya digambarkan Tom itu yang mengemudikan mobil itu Daisy ya. Daisy mengemudikan mobil, kemudian Daisy mobil itu menabrak seseorang sampai meninggal. Oke, mobil itu menabrak seseorang sampai meninggal. Karena Tom tidak ingin Daisy, nah cintanya pada Daisy itu, Tom tidak ingin Daisy bermasalah. Lalu, udah Daisy gantian, kamu yang sebelah sini, aku yang nyupir, biar nanti kalau orang lihat ngejar kita, itu yang jadi tertuduh aku, bukan kamu. Ini cara penulis menunjukkan bagaimana Tom itu orangnya baik, bahkan dia rela untuk menutupi kesalahan Daisy. Oke, itu indirect characterization. Itu teori dasarnya dua itu ya, direct. Nah, nanti detailnya itu ada yang 3, ada yang 6, ada yang 9. Nah, nanti cari buku-buku tentang characterization. Beda teorinya, karakter ada teorinya sendiri, characterization ada teorinya sendiri. Oke. Karakteristik teorinya beda lagi. Kalau karakteristik teorinya mesti teori personality, teori kepribadian. Itu maksudnya di psychology. Oke. Yeah, it seems the time is over now, and I'm sorry to stop this lecture right now. We are going to continue our discussion about your paper next week, right? Okay. So today we have already discussed about